Hello and welcome to High Point Music's Tone Zone. In today's episode I'm going to follow on from where I started with our triangle hair pie a few months ago. I recently picked up a 75 hair pie, so a model that is a little bit later in the range. It's maybe 5 years older in the timeline. 5 years later in the timeline. Early 1970s, mid 1970s. It's a newer style sound. This is the hair pie model that is based on the second version Big Muff, or the ram head, which is one of my favorites. And this is the triangle. So a little bit older, a little bit newer. There are some cool sounds between the two. I thought I would show you what they are. If you haven't seen the video for the hair pie yet, you can check that out on our channel for the 75 and the classic hair pie as well. So let's get into it and see what sounds they can make. I am just playing my Fender Stratocaster today. Those of you that regularly watch the channel would be pretty familiar with it. If you'd like to see me use another guitar with these kind of things, leave a comment in the comments below and I'm sure we can work something out. So let's start with our triangle hair pie. I've got the gain turned all the way to the point where it just starts to make noise. So we're kind of going from, it's not minimum, but just that point where it kind of goes up and starts to get a little bit brighter. So this is where we are at minimum gain on triangle. Back our volume off. Back to normal, we get a pretty reasonable Big Muff sound. We then go across to the ram's head. Back. I've got the sustain control set in a similar fashion. I've just moved it up to the point at which it starts to jump up in frequency, so it's not at minimum, so to speak. You can hear that the 75 hair pie is a little bit brighter, has a little bit more distortion. The triangle is not as distorted, obviously, and a little flatter in its response, so it doesn't seem to be quite as bright as the hair pie does. I'm going to dial the distortion up on the 75 here. 9 o'clock. So again, you can hear the Ronsound is definitely more distorted, has a little bit more volume because it has that little bit of extra gain there. Let's dial up to, say, our 12 o'clock position. I just dialed the tone controls back to the 3 o'clock position so that it's not quite as harsh on the top end, and with that extra gain we're getting extra frequency, so I don't quite need to let as much of that through. Some neck pickup. So a little more sustain out of the ram head. Let's jump our gain up to 3 o'clock. And we go from the ram head back to the triangle. Have a quick run through of a little lick just to see what it sounds like. So it still has that like almost feedback sound to the end of the notes, like the 75 does, but you can really hear the difference between the two amounts of gain that are available. I guess the last thing to do would be to just quickly push our gain all the way to the maximum. So we've heard what it does at minimum and what it can do at maximum. That should be somewhat scientific, I suppose. Well, I think the differences are going to be a little obvious by now. We've got the triangle is less gain and has a little bit less bass and a little bit less treble because of that, or in relation to that. With less gain, we get less harmonics, so the frequency response is different. The ram head version has more gain, and therefore that mid scoop is a little bit more accented, and the bass and treble therefore sound a little bit more present than they maybe really are. More structure in the harmonics, a little bit more of a saturated sound coming from the Hairpie ram's head compared to the triangle. I like the frequency response of the triangle though. It's you get a little bit more volume, it's a little bit less compressed, and I think that's a good thing for those classic kind of sounds. The ram's head is definitely an iconic sound, and that really saturated kind of response is great for those people who love to play big open chords. If you're playing prog, rock, alternative, even electronic music, running your drum machines and things through these kind of pedals can really give you the ability to make the most out of what sounds you have at your fingertips or foot tips, depending on where you have your pedal board. So maybe check it out and give it a go. Have a look at the review we've got for the ram's head and the triangle version. You can check them out on our channel below. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like, a share, a subscribe, a thumbs up. We really appreciate that feedback. You can head over to our Patreon as well and become one of our esteemed Patreon members. It helps us to put out as much good quality content as frequently as possible. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.